Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Marketing, where I'm your host, Nathan Webster, because you're on the Let's Talk Marketing podcast with In-Depth. Oh, let's get it, man. Hey, look, you got to love what you do, yo. For real. For real. All right, so last week I said, here's the homework because I have 5 major marketing mistakes people make all the time. Now, it's not always all of them, but sometimes it is, and it's not sometimes from the businesses I thought. I was like, I might, as a small business too, you I didn't think I knew all that, right? Because you don't have access to all the MarTech or SaaS. I'm sorry, MarTech is marketing technology, and SaaS is software as a service. So every company uses something different. But before I get into it with my manners, for my first time listeners, welcome and thank you for joining the show. This is the Let's Talk Marketing podcast with In-Depth, where I'm your host, Nathan Webster. I'm excited that you're here, and we're about to chop it up, and we're about to have a good time. And for my worldwide listeners, thank you for tuning into the show. I appreciate you for rocking with me. Thank you for sharing, downloading, and always keeping me on task, y'all. That's what's up. So if you haven't already, and I meant to say this last episode, but y'all, I haven't seen any reviews. And if you want any BU swag, you gotta leave a review. If you leave a review, I said, hey, look, if you all wanted a t-shirt, and on my end, I need reviews. I need some reviews. I only got 20, y'all. So if I can times that by 10, by you, all you listeners, I know you out there, you can do it, right? This is where I need you to come through, follow up, and I'll send you a t-shirt. You just got to let me know take a screenshot of what you did, and then I'll be happy to get it to you. But you have to send it into info@nwebsterllc.com. All right, let's get into this. All right, because this is the part where what someone says like, oh, you're the guru. So I used to kind of coin myself the marketing guru. And then I started to become the marketing expert. Guru for me was like, look, everyone's a guru in something. But then I was like, ooh, I don't know if I like being called the guru because marketing is like medicine. There's so many different facets to it. I almost said faucets, but we got to make it rain sometimes. And so when it comes to marketing, there's so many disciplines, and I know the fundamentals and the concepts of some stuff, but I don't get into it. Like social media, I stopped doing social media just because it's just so much work. So what I want to get into, which I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to do it to where you all can follow along with me, because when it came down to what I was saying to you last week, these are some things that when we start getting into it, man, I start realizing how much people don't understand, right? So here is where, and I'm making sure that now, you should be able to see me, but if not, it's all good. Don't worry about it. I'm still looking at the camera in some respects. Actually, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking at the document, okay? What you see in front of you, this was the first thing I talked about when it comes to the business model canvas template. It is from Strategizer. You go to strategizer.com. I took this because they have templates all over the place when it comes to the business model canvas template. And every successful business has a process. Let's just keep it real. And this designed for key decision makers. It was a template. I forget where I got it from, so my apologies on that. I definitely want to make sure I give credit where credit's due. But there's a 9-step process. And in this 9-step process, it starts with customer segments. And then it's not what you may think as the ordinary. As you can see, we start on the right and we end on the left. The number 1 is customer segments, right? Number 2 is the value proposition. Now, you may have said, I'm starting with the value proposition because with the value proposition, this is where we are learning about what is it that you do? What are you selling? What is your unique selling proposition versus basically what pain are you solving? What solution are you providing? What are people buying? And this comes back to number 1. Well, who's going to buy it? And I love how they start with that first, is because you got to start with your customer. This is not about you. Now, it's about you when it comes to you are, say, the founder, or you're the creator, or it's your business. I get it. But who is your customer? And you got to go into some of the demography details. And when I first started, and when I put this down, I didn't have my customer journey marketing blueprint that we're going to jump to here up here. Okay. But it's right here. I scanned it in. It's not pretty, but it's there. Okay. Number 3 is the channels. How does your customer get the information that you're selling? I said the information you're selling. I didn't say how do they get the product, but that's part of it too, right? The number 4 is the customer relationship. What type of relationship you want to have, right? And I know I'm reading this off the slide, but I want you to understand like these are core questions that a lot of small businesses that I've worked with have not answered or didn't have an answer for, or the answer was very shallow and surface level and they were not connected to all of them. So then I'm going to jump to the revenue stream. So this is sometimes one of the key things why people bring me in, because they were like, well, I need to make more money. And one of the key things was, are you making money? But there was someone that I was going to didn't work with, how you want to say it, there's 2 comma clubs, 7 figures, but there was no profit. Like, how do you do? Whole another story. I'm not going to get into that. So when it comes to knowing your cost per acquisition for your marketing effort is a big deal, but then you got to jump over, and what Strategizer does very well is they help break this down for you. Now, I will say you can go to strategizer.com. They have videos. I'll put strategizer.com in the show notes so you can go to it yourself, and also the YouTube video that I've shown my clients over the years it came out 10 years ago. Okay, so it's not dated because I use this before a business plan. But this was the top, or I should say, if you break it down in 2 parts, 1 through 5 is the first half. The second half is the cost structure. So this is kind of like what they would consider the back office, and this is the front office. So if you were to walk into a fast food place, a restaurant, a storefront, you will see 1 through 5. Let's just say 5's in there, right? But it's really 1 through 4. But 5's in there in regards to, let's just say, the price piece, because it isn't a price piece in here, but they will see the money piece, okay? So when you get into the back office, and I'm not a Strategizer consultant, I'm not Strategizer certified. There are certified consultants you can work with. But when you start getting into key resources, activities, partners, cost structure, this is the back office. This is where sometimes the conversation can get a little personal. For maybe some folks, they don't know the top 3 financial documents, the cash flow, balance, or P&L, right? So when it comes to understanding their cost structure and how they keep their business alive, this is where I feel a little bit bad, but it's, these are things that also we don't teach you in college. I'm just trying to keep it real. But one of the key things that I like to point out, without using key as a pun, not intended, is key activities. How do you work in your business daily? And there is the N, and you may or may not know, but there's a difference with entrepreneurs. We say, typically, not all say this, but some, we say, are you working in your business or are you working on your business? So that is something that is really a big, really, truly, exponentially a big problem. Folks are working too much in their business versus working on their business. So this allows a full picture, but this is a great starting point. But like I said, it always came back down to, I could do so much biz dev help, but it's going to come back to, are you making money? So let me just jump to my consulting. Like I said, it's not pretty. I scanned it with my iPhone, and we're going to keep it pushing. Okay. So I just have this. It's I think 4 pages altogether, whatever. I don't know. I don't know how many pages there are, but there's the 5 major marketing points I want to point out to you that are mistakes that I've seen some people make. All right. So be you. Make sure you be you. You see this rag all the time, okay? So then it's the blank page on the other side. Then it just goes right into defining your customer avatar. Now, what I put in here, what I wrote in, because you see the demographics, you see the psychographics, then the pain points and the resources, right? Down here, I have channels, influencers, and the CAC, which is the cost of acquisition for the customer. Or some people say it the other way. What is your customer acquisition cost? CAC, same thing, right? Or same, no matter how you say it, it's still going to be CAC. So when I start with someone talking about their customer avatar or your ideal customer client, or what is your ideal demographic or target market, I start with these core 4 things. The gender, age, income, and education is so huge. And I'm not going to go through all of these, and I should have prefaced that last week, and I'll say it, and I only say that because when I go through this with my clientele, this is something I do with them in like 6 weeks. But sometimes that 6 weeks becomes 6 months to a year, because this is not something that they have time for, nor they are the expert, nor do they have anyone to go into full detail with it. So when I start saying, who is the one, not two, because you can have multiple avatars. I highly suggest you do, but you got to start first. Have one, okay? Start with one, all right? Because when we started with restaurants, one of the key things about restaurants is you can see it either male dominated, it's women dominated, and typically I want to say women dominated as a space, like more so it could be like now in restaurants. But one of the things that I've really started to see, if it's more women, it's also more families. But this is also another thing when it comes to ad and getting the ad spend, the ROAS, the return on ad spend. Women are better than men in a lot of ways. But what's crazy is the demographics that are, or I should say the metrics that are on social analytics. At least I've seen more on social. There's some on the other digital platforms, but there's more men available to target than there are women. But what's crazy is men, and someone else, actually Jay said this, like men skew the data. I've always used women in a lot of ways to target more because I know, let's keep it real, y'all are the decision makers, but that's for another conversation. But let's get into it, because in these demographics right now, we are having a hard time in some respects as marketers get into the demographics, because the algorithm is changing, and we have to understand that it is more the psychographic. And in the psychographic, which is really someone's lifestyle, things are so niche. And I said niche. I did say niche. For those that one person on the YouTube said it's niche. It could be. I'm not saying it's not, but I like saying niche because someone told me the riches are in the niches. And that's how you could get stitches if you mess with me. I'm playing. Oh, man, them days are over. Anyways, let me get back to this because, see, you got me playing. But that's what I'm saying. You got to have fun. The psychographics, coming down to the lifestyles. And this is where it gets really important to understand that this is where when you start segmenting and targeting, positioning your assets, you need to understand you do not have the budget to hit everyone, which is why you need to have one avatar to begin with. Then you can create a couple more, which will then could be folks that bounce off your site, could be folks that almost completed the cart, folks that you have seen hit your page. There is it's called a remarketing strategy. You can do that. That's not my specialty, but the key thing that I like to hit on is what are the pain points that you're solving. You are supposed to, as Donald Miller would say, you are to be the guide in their journey to help them overcome their problem. And we are not the hero. The customer is the hero. So this is where I'm helping my clients. And now I don't do Donald Miller. Again, I'm not a Donald Miller coach certified. I'm just using his great way he framed it. Because he said another thing. He says, if you confuse, you lose. And I use that all the time. Because at the end of the day, you only have so much capacity to do this. And then at the same time, a budget. So this is the first thing people, or I should say the first mistake I've seen people have made. And I say people because I just don't want to say it was the decision maker, because sometimes, which I have learned throughout the years, it's just not one person that has created and operating the business. It could be multiple people. There's just sometimes different roles they play. This is where, if you haven't already started to leave a review, I want to say get on it, because hey, this is where I want you to be a part of it. Get your shirt, right? Rock the BU. Come to the conference. Let's connect every October. But look, that's for another time. I want to say thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for all that you do. And until next time, I wish you nothing but the best. So until then, dream big and Godspeed.